notion of a haunted ship that's been missing for many years that actually brings out the greed and avarice of 5 ordinary people is a really intriguing one.
The story's about a salvage crew on a tug who come across a abandoned 1950s ocean liner. Things start to go wrong and they find themselves in hot water, basically.
There's clearly activity going on the ship, and it's pretty scary. The ship is, shall we say, it's not abandoned.
They're looking for fortune, and instead they come across mayhem.
There's a haunting that's going on. Lots of screams in the night.
I always sort of saw it as The Shining meets Dead Calm.
The Mare Celeste, the Bermuda Triangle, it ties into all those kind of areas.
I think if you're in for a good scare, this is the one to see because it's really horrific.
People are going to really be scared, and they're going to love it. We like to shock you, and I think this is full of that.
You are in a graveyard. You should know that and you should leave.
I like spooky films, films that are eerie and unsettling. They're good movies that I've always liked to go see. I was brought up in Ireland, so I've known a lot of seafaring men telling you stories about ships that disappeared under the sea and cities that were buried underwater and strange women that lived in rooms way out in the ocean. There's something restless about the character, something hidden about all those men. I find people who live like that fascinating.
With successive movies like Sixth Sense and the others, we're seeing that ghost movies can go beyond just, teenage horror fare. They can be pretty scary and interesting and smart, and we're trying to do that with this one.
I can't hold her much longer, Murphy. Port Bow's healing, she's taking on way too much water.
We're what we call salvagers. We are hired to find ships that have either sank or ships that have gotten in trouble.
It's not a glamorous life, obviously. It's a lot of work. It's days at a time at sea, and it's dirty and smelly, and not a lot of places would find women there. But there's something incredibly heroic about it.
They're just kind of like a tough bunch of people. Put their nose out on the line for each other, and they work together as a team, and a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Hi, hi, Mr. Murphy. I'm Jack Ferryman. I was wondering if I could buy you a drink.
We are introduced to a character who has this incredible opportunity.
I was out in the middle of the strait when I came across this. I did 3 flybys and tried for radio contact and got nothing, so I figured she had to be adrift.
You told anyone else about it?
I live in Salt.
I've seen strange things happen in the Strait. And I know something else. Sea gives you an opportunity, you take it.
It should only be a week out of our way home. We're on our way back to Alaska, and it really should only be about a week out of our way. And most of us don't end up going home.
The issue is really the storytelling and how to tell a good story, how to tell it with a lot of scares, how to make people sit up and pay attention to the movie.
Shit! We find this incredible ship called the Antonio Graza, which has apparently been floating around for 40 years.
Oh, now do you believe me? Holy shit.
It's mammoth. We think we see it, and then we don't see it, and then all of a sudden we slam right into it.
It's the Antonio Graza. Jesus Christ.
This is civilian tugboat Arctic Warrior.
You know her, Murphy?
Only in my dreams.
And that's when you start wondering what's going on in this plot. The plot thickens.
I think audiences are going to go and see this movie for a thrill, to see something that they've never seen before. I mean, just the mere visual of this 1950s rusty ship appearing out of the mist and dwarfing the tug Arctic Warrior is a visual that I haven't seen on cinema yet.
At the height of its day, it was the opulence of ocean-going, travel and leisure. It's very luxurious. It was the fashion of its heyday. It is, of course, like most things in fashion, fallen decrepitly by the wayside. It has even deteriorated to the point of just being a rusted hulk.
Welcome aboard. I'm Julie. I'll be your hostess this evening.
When the frights come, they almost happen sequentially, one right after the other, just having them stacked up and not letting the audience rest till you get through everything, and then give them a brief moment of time to think about it, what's happened before you introduce another one.
So they find this old ship that is rusted on the inside for the most part, but still huge and tons of things that could be sold in it. And then they find a huge amount of gold.
Yeah! Yeah!
We're rich! Son of a bitch! And then they begin to uncover traces of who might have left the gold there and why.
Things just start getting out of hand, and the moral of the story, I think, is that greed ultimately gets you nowhere.
As people start revealing what they're really about under this kind of pressure, who are you really and what really matters?
So it really kind of comes down to the human reaction to things such as greed and such as lust and such as the other issues at hand. And it's basically, once that hook is set, it's a slow reel in.
All you need is a couple of beats here and there, and then some music, and then a scare, which I've counted at least about 47, close to 50 some odd scares in this movie. So you're gonna have the suspense.
Bob Zemeckis and myself had this idea, well, Bob really had the idea to remake House on Haunted Hill. And as we were preparing it, Bob thought, look, it would be really fun if we could maybe make more of these pictures. House on Haunted Hill was good and successful, and 13 Ghosts was more successful. We want to keep going. We're trying to, have one of these movies come out every Halloween.
The intention was to make really good quality pictures that will scare people, and just keep it going, keep it moving, keep the pacing of it really, really well paced.
You have a lot of action, you have a lot of characters that have a lot of arcs. A lot of us have really put a lot of effort into really building character in a film that normally doesn't require it.
I think with all these great actors, we've been able to create people that you're going to care about within the horror of the film.
It's a man of Murph, huh?
It's about the sensation. It's about the hit of the visceral experience.
I mean, that's what these guys are good at, If you're going to do a horror movie, you do it with them. So this is the thriller that's going to, I think, have people jumping.
What we try to do is get as much character work in there as possible, and try to establish different types of people that are aboard the boat. Epps is kind of the backbone of the crew, and it's heart, and she's iron cast and strong as a hurricane.
She is a woman in a man's world, but there's definite respect because she's really good at what she does. The interesting thing about my character is she doesn't really care much about the gold. Her life is this.
She's a classic hero. She's the person you look to when you're in trouble. That's who everyone looks to. Like Sigourney Weaver's character in Alien.
Katie started out as an innocent who died as part of this whole thing. And over time, what she has sort of morphed into is somebody that's a bit more complex.
All the other ghosts, when they die, they sort of turn evil. But Katie's innocent, and she sort of helps the crew to find out about the ship.
This little girl's been trapped in this ghost spirit for a long time.
I think Katie would like to get her revenge sooner or later. And I think she finally finds that ability within Epps.
I want to show you something.
Katie's sort of like her little guide. In Dante's Inferno, Virgil guides Dante through hell. And in a way, she guides Epps through hell and gets her out the other side. The sets on this film have been unbelievable. The art direction is truly remarkable.
This is one of probably the most impressive set I've ever worked on. This is a work of brilliance.
I'm continually being very impressed by Grace Walker's work. His sets are just incredible.
He's built this fantastic ocean liner, which of course we see in its glory, and we see it, you know, like this after it's been sitting derelict in the ocean for 40 years. So it's a pretty incredible transformation.
They wanted a ship that was of that classic 50s liner. We've modelled it on the Andrea Doria, which was one of the Italian lines. So it was quite a challenge, especially as it goes through many phases of decay, right from when it was a pristine ship.
What we wanted to do with the ship, as opposed to, you know, your typical haunted house movie, we wanted to give it a layering of wet texture, a waterborne demonology, if you will.
As the actors, we'd walk around sometimes and you just want to tell the camera, come film over here, come film over here.
The rust, the way everything is glistening, and I mean, it's just remarkable. You really feel like you're on the boat. And then to transform it back into 1960s and see what it looked like when it was new and beautiful, it's just been a pleasure.
His designs are fabulous. There is so much intensity and richness and believability in those sets that it makes, you know, the bit of icing on the cake that is visual effects. It makes that job so much easier. Steve was looking for someone who didn't default to a digital solution every time there was a visual effect required. From the outset, Steve was very strongly of the view that a large miniature ship would be used. That was almost a stated requirement of the equation.
Steve comes from the world of special effects, and this is a movie that is very heavy in special effects. He's really great at that understanding of what it takes to make a film like this work.
You have to do a lot of homework with that stuff. You have to prepare a lot for it. Whatever you can control and have prepped, people aren't guessing for it, and the shots essentially come out better. Dale's been watching our hind end quite a bit actually lately. Photon has a huge job ahead of themselves. There's quite a bit of work to do on this film.
The objective always is the same, is to create a credible illusion.
The one thing that we have to do is with this picture is to keep the scale large, keep the scale big. And we feel that they're going to give us some things that you've never really seen in a movie before.
Come on. Big death, ready? Roll cameras. Action!
These kind of movies require a certain amount of shock value to them. A guy goes into a darkened room, you go, don't go in there, don't go in there, there's bad things. You're waiting to be scared as an audience. So we've kind of created a ship full of dark rooms and let that opportunity sort of leap out at people.
With this picture, we're really topping ourselves with frights and scares, and I think the audience is going to be in for a great ride.
This has the chance to be something that really has some good, scary moments. And, you know, you leave, you've eaten your popcorn, you had your soda, and you go see it again.
Stop! You're in danger!
I think there's going to be a few surprises in there. It's very difficult these days to be original, but I haven't seen or read anything like this.
I think the shock value is going to be quite huge.
The visual effects, the traditional scare stuff, the blood, the gore, the macabre, but yet the storyline, it all comes together.
It's got twists and turns that you don't see coming. We try very hard to come up with twists that you don't see, that you don't feel that are going to be there.
I think they're just going to love the fear factor of it, because you're not going to know what's going to happen, and the visual effects are stunning.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll watch this movie on Halloween, that's for sure.
You'll probably be seeing us every Halloween for some number of years to come.